This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
A contentious and long presidential address to a joint session of Congress. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is blasting President Trump's tariffs.
Very dumb thing to do.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The for sale sign could be going up at hundreds of federal buildings around the nation. We'll tell you why.
House Speaker Mike Johnson is telling Republicans to skip town halls after an onslaught of protests. I'm Mike Hempen.
On Wall Street, the Trump tariffs are on and stocks have lost all their gains for the year. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
The IRS is drafting plans to cut its workforce by as much as half. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A truckload of files in the Epstein case.
A truckload of evidence arrived.
I'm Clayton Neville.
All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump delivers a long and contentious speech before a bitterly divided Congress in the House chamber, touching on virtually every area of domestic and foreign policy. John Stolnis has a recap from Washington.
Ascending to the podium amidst chants of USA by the Republicans in the chamber, the president delivering a record-breaking hour and 40-minute speech to a joint session of Congress, declaring a new golden age in America and the renewal of the American dream.
Our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
At the start of the speech, Democratic Congressman Al Green had to be removed from the chamber as he heckled President Trump.
The chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
House Democratic leaders had urged their members not to bring props to the speech. However, many did. Trump began his speech saying he inherited economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare, and touted his tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, saying they will be good for American workers and farmers eventually.
It may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again.
Trump also declared victory in the culture wars.
Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone.
Trump praised the work of Elon Musk's DOGE team, with Musk in attendance and accepting applause from Republicans and derision from Democrats.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that.
The president said he's fulfilling his campaign promise to secure the border.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
On foreign policy, days after his now famous blow-up in the Oval Office with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the president read a letter sent to him by Zelensky stating regret for what happened and a readiness to sign the rare earths and minerals deal.
I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Trump also revisited the idea of taking control of Greenland.
And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
And promised to reclaim the Panama Canal. Senator Alyssa Slotkin delivered the Democratic response, attacking Musk's DOGE team and Trump's leadership on the world stage.
Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world.
John Stolnis, Washington.
Wall Street tanks 2 days in a row following the news of President Trump's new tariffs against China, Canada, and Mexico. And now comes word from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick that a compromise may be in the works. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports that the tariffs levied by the U.S. has already led to a blistering response by Canada and China, and questions remain as to where the Trump administration will go from here.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is blasting President Trump's tariffs and promising his nation will retaliate with taxes on American imports. A visibly angry Trudeau says the president's launching a trade war against a close ally while appeasing Vladimir Putin.
The United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator.
And during a blunt news conference.
Now I want to speak directly to one specific American. Donald.
Saying while he does not often agree with the Wall Street Journal,
they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
While musing, the president wants to ruin the Canadian economy so the U.S. can annex the nation.
Now, first of all, that's never going to happen. We will never be the 51st state.
The president replied with a social media post referencing Governor Trudeau, saying the U.S. will respond to any Canadian retaliation with more tariffs. Beijing has already retaliated.
Hemos decidido responder.
President Claudia Sheinbaum says Mexico will retaliate as well. The announcement sent markets into a tailspin amid fears of higher inflation. Trudeau says Americans should know what's next. They will lose jobs, and they will pay more for groceries and gas.
We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Federal government buildings for sale when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Some late winter snow picked up for some areas today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
An expansive and rather intense disturbance continues to make its way northward and eastward across the eastern half of the nation today, and on the back end of the storm, strong winds up to 60 miles per hour will funnel decidedly colder air into the central and southern plains and the upper Midwest. This air, on the heels of fairly mild conditions for some, will allow for a significant late-season snow event, mainly focused from Iowa into the upper peninsula of Michigan through tonight, where storm total snowfall of at least 3 to 6 inches is expected. However, the highest totals of 1 to 2 feet of snow are most likely to be confined to the western third or so of the upper Michigan coast and just a bit across the border into Wisconsin. However, rain even changes to snow in cities such as Chicago and Milwaukee by late in the day today. Another area where some snow is expected includes portions of the west as the storm continues to push its way onshore. In California, the snow should be mainly confined to the Sierra Nevada, but there should also be some flakes over northern and eastern Nevada and toward the Utah border by later in the day. Outside of those areas, rain is expected from coastal Southern California toward the San Francisco area, with showers and thunder showers from mainly interior Northern California, rain and snow showers for southern Oregon and Idaho, and perhaps even a shower along the Washington coast. Wet weather also spreads across areas from New England through much of Florida today on the warm side of that same storm, bringing snow to the western Great Lakes. Thunderstorms may turn severe from the northern half of the Florida Peninsula along the eastern seaboard through southern New Jersey and inland to parts of western New York, with a risk for general thunder extending as far to the north and east as southern Vermont. In Portland, Oregon, expect more clouds than sun today and a high of 56. For Portland, Maine, some rain is the story instead, with a high reaching 46. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Don't forget you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. The Trump administration has identified 443 federal office properties that could be put up for sale, including FBI headquarters in Washington and the Office of the American Red Cross, as the president continues to downsize the federal government. The Department of Government Efficiency says the properties are located in 47 states as well as Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. The General Services Administration says a sale could potentially save more than $430 million in annual operating costs alone. America in the Morning continues. House Speaker Mike Johnson has advised GOP lawmakers to no longer hold town hall meetings. Correspondent Mike Hempen tells us what led to his decision.
We've been encouraging our members to communicate directly with their constituents, and they're anxious to do that. There's lots of different ways and forums to do it. You could do it in telephone town halls. You can have small subgroups of people from different industries and segments of the community. We find that to be very, very productive.
Johnson says the demonstrations are fueled by paid protesters. The speaker's advice comes as GOP lawmakers often find themselves at a loss to explain the Trump administration's cuts, led by billionaire Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Many federal workers have lost their jobs from coast to coast. President Trump posted on social media on Monday that paid troublemakers are filling the GOP town halls.
Democrat activists who don't live in the district very often will show up for these town hall events, and they'll go in an hour early and they'll fill all the seats. And so the constituents and the people from the community that are actually represented don't even get a seat.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says the Democrats don't need paid protesters, saying, quote, "The American people are with us." I'm Mike Hempen.
Tariffs set to raise prices for U.S. consumers when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with the Wednesday Report.
Wall Street opens this morning after another sell-off for stocks yesterday. Over the past 2 days, the Dow has plunged more than 1,300 points. The Trump bump has been completely erased, with the S&P 500 index now negative since Election Day, and all major averages are now negative for 2025. Investors are digesting the Trump tariffs on goods coming into the U.S. from China, Canada, and Mexico. All three countries are retaliating with their own tariffs. Here's CNBC's Mad Money host Jim Cramer.
There's just vast confusion. No one knows. I mean, the automakers don't know what this is going to mean. The packaged goods companies don't know what it means when it comes from another country. There's no clarity whatsoever. Anyone who thinks that there's clarity is just completely wrong. It isn't like they've said, okay, look, here's the schedule, here's the tariff. Like when you were in Europe and they did Brexit, you got the schedule, you got the tariff. You said, oh, okay, I owe this. They haven't given us anything. We don't know what we owe and what we don't owe. We don't know where it's paid. We don't know if it isn't paid. Do we owe them? Who owes it? Does the buyer owe it? I mean, the lack of any thought about this is stunning.
Meantime, the CEO of Target says you, the consumer, will pay higher prices on certain things almost right away.
Like fruits and vegetables. We depend on Mexico during the winter. The consumer will likely see price increases over the next couple of days.
Over the next couple of days? So those go in
really
instantaneously?
Short supply chains. You think about all the fresh produce.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to try to make sure we can do everything we can to protect pricing, but a 25% tariff, those prices will go up.
For things like what? Strawberries, avocados, bananas? What are we talking about?
You've got that list right.
Target CEO Brian Cornell with CNBC's Becky Quick. But the tariffs may be good for somebody. Mortgage rates dropped yesterday to 6.6% on average for a 30-year fixed-rate home loan. That's the lowest since last October. But CNBC's Diana Olick says lower mortgage rates may not offset the higher home prices that buyers are going to face because of the Trump tariffs.
A lot of people have been going to new construction because there's so little supply on the existing home market. And as the builders have to absorb these higher costs, of course, they're going to pass them on to the consumer. So I don't know that lower mortgage rates are going to offset these higher prices that we're going to see for both new and existing homes.
CNBC's Diana Olick. Ford recalling 35,000 Lincoln Navigators for fire risk. Red Robin may close 70 underperforming locations, according to USA Today, to earn what men earned in just that one previous year. On today's watch list, we get earnings from Campbell's, and the ADP employment report will be out on private sector hiring.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, Epstein Files, naming names after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Just in time for tax season, there are plans to make drastic cuts at the IRS. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
The IRS is drafting plans to cut its workforce by as much as half through a mix of layoffs, attrition, and buyouts. The federal tax collector employs roughly 90,000 workers across the United States. People of color make up 56% of the workforce, and women represent 65%. The IRS has already laid off about 7,000 probationary employees. Along with most federal employees, IRS employees have also been offered deferred resignation program buyouts. Although IRS employees involved in the 2025 tax season were told earlier this month that they would not be allowed to accept a buyout offer until mid-May, after the taxpayer filing deadline. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
There's expected to be much more revealed in another delivery of files connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi made it a priority to look deeper into the Jeffrey Epstein files. More names tied to the disgraced sex trafficker were expected to be revealed, but the anticipation fell flat when not much was learned with the files handed over by the FBI to Trump officials. Bondi said it was learned through a whistleblower that there were more files.
A source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York. So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI.
The AG told Fox's Hannity now that FBI Director Kash Patel is at the helm, he's looking for specific answers
as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. And, we're going to go through it as fast as we can.
I'm Clayton Neville.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour, a recap of President Trump's address to Congress, and Ukraine's leader offers to come back to the table.
House Republicans now working with the Senate on a budget. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump has a stern warning for anti-Israeli and American student protesters. I'm Bob Brown. That story next.
The Supreme Court considers a gun lawsuit. LA's former fire chief appeal decision. And Arab leaders pan Trump's Gaza plan with one of their own.
Amazon is building AI agent systems for you. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
And highlights of Mardi Gras. Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. There's a risk for some severe thunderstorms today. With details, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
As a potent late winter storm tracks toward the East Coast after bringing plenty of active weather to the south on Tuesday, conditions will remain ripe for some severe thunderstorms to develop ahead of a rather fast-moving cold front, thanks to a push of Gulf moisture continuing to lift northward ahead of that front. This will help to fuel thunderstorms that may turn severe from the eastern Florida Panhandle and northern half or so of the Florida Peninsula, northward through the Carolinas and into the eastern half or so of Ohio, extending across much of Pennsylvania as well as all but northern New Jersey and across the Delmarva Peninsula. Storms within this large zone may produce hail, damaging wind gusts of 75 miles per hour or more, and even some tornadoes in spots into this evening. The highest chance for widespread severe weather looks to set up from southeastern Virginia toward the Savannah, Georgia area, where the front will arrive after the peak heating of the day primes the atmosphere the most. This is a rather large storm, and rain and thunder extend northward from there into much of New York State and southwestern New England, with occasional rain continuing to spread across the border into Canada. To the west, showers and thunderstorms are even expected in the Detroit area, but to the west of there, the cold side of the storm brings rain changing to snow from southeastern Wisconsin through Illinois, but steadier snow within a swath from Missouri into the upper peninsula of Michigan, and coastal parts of the western UP may end up with up to 2 feet of snow through tonight. Otherwise, the plains and even much of the Rockies look to stay dry through the day today, but a new storm intensifying over the southwest brings some rain and even some mountain snow from central and coastal southern California into southern portions of both Idaho and Oregon. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Calling his first 40 days back in office a common sense revolution and that America is back, President Trump addressed a joint session of Congress that touted the achievements of the start of his second term, the removal of one congressman who heckled him, and gave the longest annual presidential address to Congress in history. We'll whittle it down to the highlights with this recap from correspondent John Stolnis.
Ascending to the podium amidst chants of USA by the Republicans in the chamber, the president delivering a record-breaking hour and 40-minute speech to a joint session of Congress.
Our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
Democratic Congressman Al Green had to be removed from the chamber as he heckled President Trump.
The chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order.
Trump began his speech saying he inherited economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare and touted his tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China.
It may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China. Probably have to bear with me again.
Trump also declared victory in the culture wars.
Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone.
Trump praised the work of Elon Musk's DOGE team, with Musk in attendance and accepting applause from Republicans and derision from Democrats.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that.
The president said he's fulfilling his campaign promise to secure the border.
But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
On foreign policy, days after his now famous blow-up in the Oval Office with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the president read a letter sent to him by Zelensky stating regret for what happened.
I appreciate that he sent this letter. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Trump also revisited the idea of taking control of Greenland.
And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
And promised to reclaim the Panama Canal. Senator Alyssa Slotkin delivered the Democratic response. John Stolnis, Washington.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is signaling that he is willing to return to the negotiating table and work with the Trump administration on a mineral rights deal and start the process of creating peace between Kyiv and the Kremlin. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports Zelensky is calling last week's Oval Office spat regrettable. But there's also concern among European nations that appeasing Vladimir Putin is not the answer.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says last week's Oval Office blow-up with President Trump was regrettable, and he's ready to work for lasting peace with Russia.
I appreciate that he sent this letter. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
It was an astonishing scene.
Mr. President, I'm very serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions.
Zelensky writes on social media it's time to make things right, and he can work under Trump's strong leadership on a peace deal. That came hours after the White House announced it's pausing military aid to Ukraine. Zelensky says he is ready to sign a rare earth minerals deal with Washington. Vice President J.D. Vance calls that a more practical deterrent to future Russian aggression than a European peacekeeping force.
The very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine. That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
Vance's comment on Fox News Channel's Hannity bothered the UK and France, who are leading calls for a post-war force in Ukraine.
Our starting point must be to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position now, so that they can negotiate from a position of strength. And we are doubling down in our support.
Vance notes he did not single out anyone, but this morning on Capitol Hill,
The British and the French have offered to step up in a big way. That's very, very important.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Back here at home, Republicans are hopeful their proposed budget will make it through the Senate, but Democrats insist Americans are pushing back against the plan, and there are some conservative Republicans who may not fully be on board, and their votes will be vital for any budget bill to pass. Following details, correspondent Clayton Neville.
House Republicans narrowly passed a budget framework, but now it's up to the Senate. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise told reporters this week that the one big, beautiful bill will go toward helping middle-class families.
We passed our budget to the Senate to start the process of putting into law the things we need to do to deliver on that Trump agenda that 77 million people went to the polls to give all of us a mandate to do.
Scalise pointed out that all Democrats voted no on the measure.
Which means Democrats voted to put a tax on over 99% of families that make less than $1 million. You hear them talking about millionaires and billionaires. The people that would be hurt by Democrat actions are people that would make well under $1 million.
Republicans are showing an urgency to get a deal done, but some lawmakers are meeting resistance in their home districts, some tense moments at local town hall meetings. Democrat Pete Aguilar addressing accusations that some of the disturbances are being caused by actors.
But these are not paid individuals, no matter how many times the speaker says it. These are Americans who are angry. They're angry that their health care could be taken away. They're angry that Elon Musk is running around firing people out of agencies that are providing services to them.
The House budget plan includes $4.5 trillion in tax breaks. Now, Democrats suggest those tax cuts benefit the wealthiest Americans and boost the federal budget deficit. I'm Clayton Neville.
Among the stories we're covering next, school protesters on notice, rebuilding Gaza, and Amazon AI. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. The U.S. Supreme Court seems poised to shoot down a $10 billion lawsuit brought against U.S. gun makers by the government of Mexico, which wants to hold the gun manufacturers liable for gun violence orchestrated by Mexican drug cartels. While federal law grants broad immunity to the gun industry, Mexico alleges that the law creates an exception for aiding and abetting the illicit sale of trafficking of guns, a claim that gun makers deny. Many of the justices seemed unconvinced that Mexico's case should be allowed to move forward, including liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor and Justice Elena Kagan, who questioned what she perceived as a lack of specificity in Mexico's allegations. A U.S. Government Accountability Office report said that a large majority of guns involved in the shootings came from U.S. border states. More than 40% originated from Texas. President Trump is issuing a warning to student protesters on both sides of the Israel-Gaza war, as well as to schools who allow protests that violate school policies. Bob Brown has the story.
Students rattled again after a wild scene at New York's Barnard College this week.
Fox News capturing an out-of-control protest at New York's Barnard College as pro-Palestinian student demonstrators took over a college building and staged a sit-in. Barnard is affiliated with Columbia University, which was the focus of protests last year, with demonstrators demanding an end to U.S. support for Israel as a result of Israel's treatment of Palestinians in Gaza, which grew into a humanitarian crisis. President Trump posting on Truth Social that all federal funding will stop for colleges and schools that allow illegal protests and that agitators will be imprisoned or sent back to the country they came from. In a statement, Linda McMahon, the newly confirmed Secretary of Education, says Americans have watched in horror for more than a year now as Jewish students have been assaulted and harassed on elite university campuses. Columbia Associate Professor Shai Davidi, who's an advocate for Jewish civil rights, appearing on Fox News, explains what happened when he tried to talk to another professor on campus.
You know what happened? A student protester came and pulled the faculty outside. They told them, don't talk to them. The faculty are not in charge here. Who's in charge are the radical students that are telling them what to do and what to say to them. A Justice Department anti-Semitism task force will visit 10 universities nationwide, including Columbia. Bob Brown, New York.
In what turned into a contentious hearing, the Los Angeles City Council voted nearly unanimously to deny former Fire Chief Kristen Crowley's appeal. Crowley was fired by the Los Angeles mayor, Karen Bass, following the devastating L.A. wildfires. Crowley claimed that she did not send home 1,000 firefighters, as Bass alleged, and claimed the city did not have enough equipment to fight all of the fires, and more than 100 fire trucks were at the time out of service being repaired. 29 people were reported killed, and damages are expected to top $100 billion. You're with America in the Morning. Shifting gears to the Middle East, Arab leaders led by Egypt have approved a $53 billion plan to rebuild Gaza that does not displace Palestinians after they opposed the one recently offered by President Trump, which also included ridding the enclave of Hamas. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
The Egyptian president says Arab leaders have endorsed Egypt's post-war plan for the Gaza Strip. It would allow its roughly 2 million Palestinians to remain in the territory. Meeting in Cairo, the leaders endorsed a counterproposal to President Donald Trump's plan to depopulate the territory and redevelop it as a beach destination. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister, Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, says, "We in the kingdom categorically reject any infringement of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, whether through settlement policies, annexation of Palestinian lands, or attempts to displace Palestinians from their lands. We also stress the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination on their land and to establish their independent state on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. It's unclear if Israel or the United States would accept the Egyptian plan." I'm Haya Panjwani.
Amazon has announced a new dedicated unit to building AI agents that will go online and perform tasks on your behalf. Chuck Palm explains in today's Tech News.
Amazon has reportedly formed a new group within Amazon Web Services that will create agent AI systems. Matt Garman, CEO of AWS, said that agentic AI systems have the potential to be the next multi-billion-dollar business for AWS. In a demo last week, Amazon showed off some of the agentic capabilities that would be coming to Alexa Plus, a long overdue AI upgrade to their consumer voice assistant. The company demoed some of the abilities to automatically book an Uber and navigate websites and compete with other tasks that humans would usually do for themselves. The Amazon Web Services unit may also be interested in developing enterprise AI agents that would compete with companies like Salesforce and Microsoft and create AI systems that can automate work-related tasks for their customers. Amazon, Microsoft, and OpenAI have all announced major upgrades to their AI networks in the past few months. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
America in the Morning's Robert Workman has a look at sports.
NBA make it 11 straight wins for the Cavaliers as they routed the Bulls 139-117, though Coach Kenny Anderson says there's still work to do.
We have to be careful, right? I mean, this league's too hard, and we obviously had a great fourth quarter, but we for 3 quarters we were sleepwalking. Energy wasn't great. Defense wasn't great. Offense, we weren't making shots.
Now, that was Cleveland's 3rd double-digit win streak of the season, and they have the best record in the association. Lakers pounded the Pelicans. LeBron James had 34 points and becomes the first player to score 50,000 points in his career. That's counting regular season and playoffs combined. Suns erased a 23-point deficit to trip the Clippers. Raptors nipped the Magic on a last-second 3 from rookie Jacoby Walter. College basketball, number 22 Texas A&M upset number 1 Auburn 83-72. March Madness is underway. 4 more conference tournaments get going today. Remember nearly 20 years ago when 11-seed George Mason University knocked off 3 recent national champions on their Cinderella run to the NCAA Final Four? Well, the Patriots had a different kind of March Madness yesterday. The Mason baseball team set an NCAA record, scoring 23 runs in the 2nd inning of their win over Holy Cross. The old record of 21 runs in an inning had stood for more than 40 years, and Mason did it without a home run. Meantime, the Eagles rewarded their running back Saquon Barkley with a 2-year extension worth $41.2 million. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. The lead up to Ash Wednesday in New Orleans, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. It appears what's old is also what's new again on Broadway. Here's entertainment reporter Kevin Carr.
2 decades after his Oscar-nominated film Good Night and Good Luck hit movie theaters, George Clooney is revisiting the material in his Broadway debut.
Good night and good luck.
In the original film, which was directed by Clooney and co-written by his production partner Grant Heslov, actor David Strathairn starred as Edward R. Murrow, a CBS News anchor who took on Senator Joe McCarthy's hunt for communists.
We cannot defend freedom abroad by deserting it at home. Good night and good luck.
Clooney steps into the lead for the stage performance after playing it during his pitches to investors.
There are a certain kind of people who are the lifeblood of democracy, never wavering, never faltering, never straying in their pursuit of what matters. Truth.
The production will be held at the Winter Park Theater on Broadway and run for only 99 performances. Opening night is Wednesday, March 12th. Even though the new production comes at a turbulent political time, it was not produced for political reasons, though both Clooney and Heslov admit the current state of American journalism could use it. And if you want another blast from the past on the Broadway stage, the hit jukebox musical Mamma Mia is returning to the Winter Garden Theater in August for a 6-month run. The original Broadway production, which ran from 2001 to 2015, had the 9th longest run in Broadway history. I'm Kevin Carr.
Despite threats of severe weather and potential tornadoes that led to some parades being canceled, nothing was able to stop the celebration of Mardi Gras in New Orleans and other parts of Louisiana. Correspondent Jennifer King reports on the festivities of Fat Tuesday, the last celebration before Ash Wednesday.
Revelers in New Orleans are celebrating Mardi Gras. With thunderstorms in the forecast, some parades were postponed until Sunday or started earlier than usual with shorter routes. In the Tremé neighborhood, members of the Northside Skull and Bones gang woke up the city with drums and chants. On Jackson Avenue, Sabrina D'Anjou caught a painted coconut tossed from the crew of Zulu float.
It says 2025, so I'll always remember this. That's my first Mardi Gras here in New Orleans.
She says she spent the last 2 weeks enjoying Mardi Gras events and soaking up the atmosphere.
I would have liked to see Rex parading as well, but I know because of the weather, it's been cut short.
There were barriers along parade routes and a large law enforcement presence in response to a New Year's truck attack that killed 14 people. I'm Jennifer King.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.